All right, welcome to another episode of Tdub's Film Room, and today is all about the offensive side of the ball. 2026 top 10 wish list for Auburn. We'll go 1 through 10 with the guys who I think could impact Auburn the most, and we'll start with a guy who I think could be a day one starter if Auburn were to land him. All right, now this is a wish list, all right, and this is definitely a wish. My number one guy, Emmanuel Iheanacho. He's unbelievable. Okay, he's the number 2 rated prospect in the 2026 class, 5-star, elite traits. He's 6'6" and a half, 350 pounds. The size, the length, the athleticism, the feet, the power, the flexibility and mobility in the knees and the ankles and the hips. All right, you can see that he finishes plays. Who knows what any of his weaknesses are? All right, maybe his kick step, maybe some things that have to be developed, but everything you could possibly want. Quite frankly, he's going to be a first-round pick, okay? Most of these elite 5-star offensive tackles end up being first-round picks. You know, even if their college careers aren't the best, there's only so many people that are made this way. All right, now we probably don't have that much of a chance to get him. That's okay. My comp is Evan Neal, 6'7", 360, similar, okay? 7th overall draft pick, obviously out of Alabama, but that box jump video, if you remember, some kind of split jump, box jump with weights or something, chains, that type of freakish athleticism, that's honestly what I see from this kid. Again, elite left tackle prospect and a guy who I think would definitely start day one. I think really highly of Xavier Chaplin, could be a 1 year and go the NFL type guy. So again, maybe the chances aren't great that we get him, but if we're talking wish list, this is my number 1 guy. All right, number 2, we've got Tristan Keys. He's a receiver out of the state of Mississippi, Hattiesburg, 7th player nationally overall, 5-star, 6'2", 185 listed. All right, you can see the contested catch, the one-handed acrobatic catch ability there. He's awesome. Elite traits, in my opinion. Okay, maybe not, the top-end linear speed, 40 time, that kind of thing, but you can see he's got some quickness off the ball. He's got some suddenness, and he's got some long speed to be able to pull away as well. I like his kind of violent urgency attacking the ball. Physical run after catch. I believe we'll see this here. All right. Really physical run after the catch, using that big body. All right. And making plays. Great route runner, I think, relative to his size. And even here, maybe this is the double move. But I think he's got a lot of body control. There it is. For his size, and a really good route runner already. Don't see really any weaknesses in his game other than maybe he's not a 4-4 or 4-3 guy, but that's okay. I'm comping him to a guy named Kyron Lacey at LSU. Now, Kyron's got some off-the-field stuff, whatever, but on the field, again, urgency, attacking the football, okay? Being able to make plays, run after catch with the ball in his hands, even though being like a little bit of a bigger player, I think that's great. He had 58 catches, 1,275 yards, 14 touchdowns. You see the contested catch ability there. Tristan Keys, number 2 for me. All right, number 3 on my list, we've got Cedarian C.D. Morgan out of Benjamin Russell High School, the same high school as Malcolm Simmons. So state of Alabama guy. He's number 2 player in the state, future 5-star if everything stays pat. He's number 19 player in the country according to On3. You can see the stats, the production there. A bunch of catches and a bunch of touchdowns. He is a big, long, contested catch, jump ball receiver. All right, he's listed 6'5", 210. Elite length, jump balls, contested catches. He's good run after catch. There's some evidence of that. He takes some wildcat snaps here later in his highlight reel. And he's a basketball dual sport kid. You always love that with the ball skills, things like that. Only downsides really or weaknesses, as a bigger guy who maybe doesn't have elite speed. So like Calvin Johnson might be the only guy we've ever seen that's 6'5 plus running, a sub 4.340, right? So maybe he doesn't create the separation and the top end speed is like, smaller guys, but that's okay. My comp for him, I've got 2. Mike Evans, I think, is a pretty good comp, okay, for C.D. Morgan. Again, 6'5", 220, I think is what Mike Evans plays in the NFL. 4-5 guy in the 40 in the combine. So I think that'd be pretty relevant there for CD. And a guy, again, that can make all the catches in the world. Darunya Wilson stuck out to me from Mississippi State a few years ago. If you've never seen him play, go watch some YouTube. But he had like 60, 70, 80 catches, something like that, his last year at Mississippi State as a 6'5", 220 guy. So those are a couple of comps. I think Mike Evans is a pretty good one. Of course, Mike Evans is going to be in the Hall of Fame. But, yeah, C.D. Morgan, absolute baller, absolute stud, and a guy on the outside who could create a lot of mismatches. All right, number 4 on the list, we've got a running back, Derek Cooper out of Chaminade Madonna Prep, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, coached by none other than Sean Shivers there. But, again, running back, really good build. You can see him playing behind the pads, 6'1", 190. I like him because he's a football player playing running back. He's got really good receiving skills. He's physical. He runs behind his pads, like we saw there. He hits the hole really hard. Good break tackle ability, the ability to run away from defenders and finish plays, score touchdowns. And this is not really even a negative, but what we'll see in a second is he plays a lot of different positions. I think he's listed on some sites as a safety, actually. He plays some defense, plays special teams. Jack of all trades, master of none type thing. I don't see it. I don't see like a downside there, but maybe that's a little bit of a minus. But I think he's going to end up being a great running back. He's number 23 prospect in the country. Again, another 5-star player. If everything kind of holds serve there, so really high-level prospect and a guy that's really good. For comps, if you think about it, Kerryon Johnson with the length and the receiving ability, Jarquez Hunter here with the special teams and playing different positions and just being a football player. And then Jeremiah Cobb, a guy with, really good top-end speed, the ability at the running back position to make big plays and score touchdowns. If you took all three of those guys and blended them into one, that's kind of what I see with this guy, and that's probably why he's rated so highly. But Derek Cooper, monster prospect. Everybody's going to be after him, obviously, but a really, really good football player. All right, number 5 for me, a little run on running backs here. 1,505 all-purpose yards, 21 touchdowns. In his sophomore season, E.J. Crowell, reclassified to the 2026 class, 5'11", 200. You can kind of see his build. He's at Jackson High School, state championship program down there. But 5'11", 200, like I said, 4-star kid, even with the reclassification. You can see the playmaking ability here. I like the fact that he's young. He reclassified up, right? So he's got less tread on the tires. That matters to everybody. That matters to the NFL when they're looking at college guys. It should matter here as well. Perfect build, 5'11", 200. All right. He's got that nice blend of speed where he can have home run plays, but also the power and the balance. All right. You can see him just bouncing off of people, the vision, all the cutting ability, all that kind of stuff. Again, I don't see a ton of weaknesses here, really. Things that I bet he'll have incredible film, okay, this year as a senior, essentially. But it's hard to know about the true speed of some of these guys. I wanted to comp him to somebody that maybe wasn't like a 4.4 running back, because those are pretty rare. Josh Jacobs stood out to me from a comparison perspective. He ran a 4.6, so nothing super crazy there in terms of linear speed, but a guy that breaks a lot of tackles, a really powerful runner, but also has some shake and some wiggle. The ability to make people miss, but also bounce off of tackles and, that contact balance. So really high-level prospect out of the state of Alabama, a guy that, of course, Auburn would love to get. So E.J. Crowell, really nice looking player. All right, we're going to look at our next prospect here. All right. But before that, I wanted to have a little bit of a cover my butt scenario here. Jay Lamar is another running back out of the state of Georgia. But he's had quotes where like his whole family are Georgia fans, right? Really super speedy player. DeAndre Swift is a comparison for me. He's hitting home run balls basically his whole tape, but I didn't want to just completely dismiss him. Auburn's going to recruit him. He'll probably go to Georgia, but Jay Lamar, definitely a guy. If you have some free time, go check him out. But next on my list, all right, we're going to go to the offensive line position. Offensive line, obviously, every year is a position of need. It's a position where you've got to go out and sign guys that can play, especially on the outside at tackle. So guys that have length, guys that have athleticism. This guy, J.B. Shabazz, he's only a 3-star. He's a number 1 rated tackle in the state of North Carolina, 6'6", 280. All right. He's got a lot of work to do, quite frankly. Head down there, not super strong with the hands or with the punch. Maybe not the most physical right now, so he's got some development to do. But with the frame and the wingspan and the athleticism, these guys are valuable. And quite frankly, again, offensive line's position that you have to go out and find. Right now, there's not a lot of guys that Auburn is on publicly, and he's one of the best tackle prospects, other than obviously Iheanacho that I could find. So I like his upside. Tyler Johnson is a comp for me. Again, a guy that may need some time to develop, but with the frame, the tangibles, the athleticism, a guy you probably take a chance on to see if you can develop into a really good player. So JB Sabaz, definitely a guy to watch out for. All right, number 7 on the list, Dooley Pritchett. All right, is what he goes by. Parker Pritchett, 3-star inside offensive lineman out of Carver High School, 6'4", 310, so he's already above 300. And I like the athleticism there, already being above 300 pounds again as an offensive lineman. Interior offensive lineman is his projection. Shows that athleticism. I think he has pretty good, hip, knee, ankle bend mobility there for a guy that large in high school. I like that. Lacks elite traits. Okay, he is ranked 3-star. I do think he's a guy that could climb it in the rankings, but maybe needs to drive his feet on contact a little bit. We'll see that in a second. And maybe not super sudden right now. He comps to me to Jeremiah Wright. Maybe he's a little bit smaller. Okay, but if you think about Jeremiah Wright, if he gets his paws on you, it's probably going to be bad news for you. But kind of that lack of suddenness, I think, is maybe what connects me there. But here's kind of the lack of drive there on contact. So you can see, takes a second there. So there's some things he's going to have to work on. But again, offensive lineman is an important position. That's why these guys are rated pretty high relative to their national ranking. Really important to be bringing in quality prospects so we can develop that room. So that's why he's pretty high up there, number 7 on my list, Parker Pritchett out of Carver High School. All right, number 8, Caden Prothrow, tight end, 6'6", 210, out of Bowden High School in Georgia. All right, really good program down there. 4-star, ranked number 41 prospect in the country. So, borderline 5-star. You can see splitting him out in a receiver, getting the ball, letting him make big plays. Great frame. All right, dual sport athlete, basketball player. You can think of the long lineage of tight ends that, were basketball players, so you like that. Good hands. Again, a good program there at Bowden. Doesn't project as a transcendent player, I would say, as like a Brock Bowers or somebody like that we've seen. But really, really solid tight end. Now, you can make the argument, how important is that position? That's why, this guy's really highly rated, but, he's number 8 on my list, right? So, really good football player. I'd say him. You got Xavier Tiller, Evan Jacobson, 3 tight ends that Auburn's kind of on right now early. All are really good prospects, but I think, Prothrow right now is a little bit separating himself from the pack. I'm actually comping him to CJ Uzomah, a lower rated guy coming out of high school, but a guy that, played for the Bengals, had a pretty long NFL career. So a really good player, really. So, yeah, contested catches, good hands, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, a guy that would be a great pickup, and he's number 8 on my list. All right, a little bit different. All right, number 9 player for me, Bubba Frazier. Okay, another receiver. You may have seen this film before. Remember, we used it to break down Jacoby Ward, the left tackle. He's an interior offensive lineman in the 2025 breakdown video. But you can see the catch and run ability. All right, he is unranked. He's 5'10", 165 listed. So, you think 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in that range. He looks like he's pretty good, pretty good build to me. You can see the suddenness, the route running ability that he has, the explosiveness, the long speed we've seen. He's aggressive in the run game. He's really good at contested catches, especially for his size. You can see him go up and get the ball on that defender's head, so you like to see that. Of course, his knocks are going to be his size and a little bit of that lower competition, that 3A ball in Georgia there at Benedictine. But I'm comping him to Marquise Mays, a guy, who played at Alabama, who was number 4, a really good return specialist, a good receiver, just explosive. Anytime the ball is in his hands, you got a chance to make a big play. I like this guy a lot. That's why he's ranked higher than some other, higher ranked receivers that Auburn is on. But I think this guy's going to be a really good college football player. That's Bubba Frazier out of Benedictine. Here's one more for the road. That aggressive return ability that he has. And you can see, eyes up, always looking to make a play. I like this kid a lot, Bubba Frazier. All right, to round out my top 10 list, on the offensive side of the ball, we've got a super highly rated Auburn commit, Devin Carter. He's number 43 player right now on 3, so 4-star, 6', 165. Here he is lined up. This is the Navy All-American game. His quarterback is Keyshawn Henderson. We'll talk about that in just a second. But here he is competing against juniors and seniors, some of the best kids in the nation, and he's just roasting people on a post. That is his game. He is a speed home run threat. He's got requisite size there at 6 foot 165. We've seen people succeed there. Ryan Williams, Devonta Smith, even Anthony Schwartz. He's not going to be a physically dominant player. He's not going to impose himself, even with run after catch, unless he's in space, I would say, open field scenarios. I kind of see him on a spectrum between Anthony Schwartz and Ryan Williams being somewhere halfway between, if that makes any sense at all. I think he's got a ton of speed. We can use him similar. He can have similar production as Anthony Schwartz. Ryan Williams, to me, is kind of on that top end of that spectrum. And I don't know if he's quite that level of prospect, but a really good prospect, obviously already committed, and a guy that can come into Auburn and make a lot of plays. All right, so we got to talk honorable mentions here, and we got to talk quarterbacks, because you probably were thinking, where are the quarterbacks? Well, there's been some good, I think, Auburn, fan discussion. We've got the 5-star Deuce Knight we just signed, obviously bringing Jackson Arnold in. How do you approach, addressing the quarterback position for the 2026 class? To me, Jared Curtis, the 5-star, look, it would be great to stack and level those 5-star quarterbacks, but other 3 guys that we're kind of being mentioned with, we mentioned him just a second ago, Keyshawn Henderson, all right, a really similar, just paralleled recruitment to Keelan Russell, who's now ranked the number 1 player on Rivals for the class of 2025. Started out as a 3-star prospect out of Georgia. He was committed to SMU, then committed to Alabama, then became the number 1 player in the class, right? Keyshawn Henderson committed to Houston, quarterback in Texas, going on the camp circuit we just saw, made a lot of waves, starting to get a lot more offers. I expect him to blow up and probably become a 4 or 5-star prospect as well. He would be, my one there. Landon Duckworth Jackson, again, the teammate of E.J. Crowell that we saw earlier, and then another guy named Travis Burgess out of Georgia. Those 3 guys, if you can still land just one of those 3 guys, I think that would be good. On my wish list, though, I think there's other positions and other players that are going to make a bigger impact quicker at Auburn, and that's kind of how I designed this list. So I'm not forgetting about the quarterback position. I just think we're taking into account as well, who's going to play soon, and of course the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff. Some other guys to mention for sure: Marquez Callaway, who's a 4-star player at a receiver out of Booker T. Washington, so a smaller school. He's 6'5", again, 210, so that bigger build. I kind of comped him to Perry Thompson because his highlight tape just kind of looks like he's bigger and faster than everybody, so he doesn't even look like he has to run full speed half the time. I think he would be a guy that would kind of come in and have to develop similar to Perry, quite frankly. Denarius Gray, I comped to Malcolm Simmons. He's a current Auburn commit, 4-star receiver who's been getting recent offers from like Ohio State and places like that. Really good player. But again, I do have some other guys that I actually like a little bit better. But I mean, absolutely great prospect. And we talked about the tight ends. And then again, just to reinforce this, Auburn's got to go, and they've got to go find some offensive line prospects. There's really nobody in the state that's highly rated right now. Not a lot of people in the Southeast that are highly rated offensive linemen in the 2026 class. So they got to go find some guys. And, hopefully throughout the spring, the eval period there, they'll be able to find some guys. But that's my top 10 wish list for right now. As always, again, go to the barn, auburn.com, $25 off 2025 annual subscription. And until next time, I appreciate you guys watching.